this episode of Tripology. It's the only backpacking show where the hosts are actually backpacking and doing a show. It's a backpacking show. I'm Alun, and I'm here with the ever arboreal Adam.
It's so nice to be back. Thanks everyone for joining us again for another fantastic week. I've got to start off by saying I apologise for my lighting. I'm in a holiday park in the middle of nowhere and there's a motion sensor. It is a communal area. There are other people in the room, so any noises, bumps and farts you do hear, it's them and it's not me. We're going to continue on from last week. We're going to hear about Alan's adventures over in Borneo. Did he see one of those orange apes? And then, of course, we've got Tales of a Trip at the very end. One of you lovely listeners sending in one of your travel stories, and then I'm going to tell you a wicked story in the Lost and Found section where I had a very authentic homemade Indian curry in a campsite in the absolute middle of nowhere, Alan.
The Lost and Found section, of course, available exclusively on Patreon. There's a link in the description for those of you interested in splashing out a bit of the old cash. I don't think anyone will mind about your lighting, Adam, on accounts of no one watches anyway. Everyone just listens intently, like sort of people with their eyes closed around a campfire, and that's very nice. I like that. Indeed, last week I promised to continue my story. Keen-eared listeners, fans of the show, will remember that I had an eye infection when I went to Sepilog and the Bornean Sun Bear Sanctuary, but I decided to continue my adventure in spite of the eye infection and book a 3-day, 2-night river safari on Kinabatangan River, one of the best places to see wild orangutans.
I'm very jealous, mate. I am jealous because it sounds like it's right up my street. Now, is this a river cruise in the sense that you're going to be sleeping on the boat, or do you get off at various points and sleep with maybe, homestay, local family, cooking up some nice Borneo grub?
I had very little information going into it, Adam. I booked the cheapest possible river cruise I could find, where it's kind of a package. You stay with a lodge. They take you out on the river a few times a day. I won't name the lodge because I did reach out saying, hey, award-winning podcast, perhaps it would be beneficial for both of us if an orangutan was sighted. Didn't receive a response, booked just the same as everyone else, and as a result, the lodge will remain nameless, but I was quite excited to go with them, mate. I just had the eye infection to deal with beforehand, so on the morning, they were going to do a hotel pickup. On the morning of the pickup, I beelined into town, went to an optometrist and said, can you give me a salve, an ointment, some sort of cure for this malady? My eye was all big and red. I was in glasses. I said, what can you do for me? She said, sprinkle this on your eye as often as you can, basically, and it should tide you over until you come back from the jungle. So I thought, okay, good to know. Thanks for the salve. And onwards, picked up and taken all the way to Kinabatangan River.
That's amazing, mate. I'm very glad you found an optometrist in you're able to in these far-reaching places. I can see through the camera lens that your eye looks pretty good, almost back to brand new, you might say.
Yeah, I mean, it was many weeks ago that this happened. So if you had just said, I can see the remnants of an infection, I would have been pretty offended. But we got there, mate, to this place. I booked a hostel. Everyone else on the whole damn trip booked private rooms. The result of which was that I just basically had a very large private room.
Oh, right, because you had thought, well, you just booked a dorm. I guess that's the cheapest option.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Quid's in.
We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing it's all fully catered.
Right.
You get your meals, you get the same number of cruises on the river, you get jungle walks and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
All the same package, but it was significantly more expensive if you went in a private room.
Yeah.
I paid about $100 for the whole thing, which is about the price you'd pay for hostels and meals and all that activities anyway. And I just had a huge room with different beds. And I took it a little game to hop between the beds each of the nights that I was staying there.
You're joking.
To see which one was the best, like a sort of kinky little travelling Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Yeah, that's so funny. Did anyone else know? Did the other people that were staying in private rooms, did they know that you had paid a lot less money and then maybe lucked out with an absolute dorm to yourself?
when you have got an eye infection, you're feeling a little bit self-conscious, maybe low about yourself. One way that you can acquire some self-esteem is to tell everyone how stupid they were to book the private room and how you are just having a wonderful time in the dorm room. No one, of course, wanted to join me in the dorm on account of the putrid eye infection, but I did
Oh, is it
manage...
contagious?
I don't think so, no, but it looked like it should have been.
And you lent into that, did you?
Yes. I said, careful of the pillows in the dorm room. They've had ever such a problem since I've arrived.
Yeah, especially the bottom bunks.
Yeah. So I did make some friends, though, in spite of my aesthetic appearance, and we headed out on the very first cruise of the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Borneo Big Five are, mate? Can you name them off the top of your head?
Yeah.
I hope so, because I fucking can't.
Orangutans.
Well done.
Number one.
Yeah.
Maybe pygmy elephants.
That's it. They're in there.
Yeah. Another P. Palm oil plantations.
No, they're all animals, Adam.
Well, I mean, would I be silly not to say the clouded leopard? Is that?
No, that's too rare to include in the Big Five.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting.
But you're right. A lot of them do begin with P.
Pygmy hippopotamus? Is that a...
Those are in Africa.
Wrong continent. Cool.
Never mind. I'll finish it off for you. You've got orangutans.
Yeah.
You've got pygmy elephants.
Yeah.
You've got proboscis monkeys.
Oh, those things with the spoon, flappy, flubby noses.
Yes, Adam, with the floppy
Yeah.
noses.
I know
exactly.
those.
You've got the rhinoceros hornbill.
Oh, yes. An amazing bird. Majestic.
And the crocodile.
Oh, a crocodile. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's wicked. Very cool. So you had a hit list.
Can you guess which of those I was most excited about?
Probably the orangutan.
Orangutan was the top. Can you guess my number one, my number two?
Number two. What would I say? I'd be embarrassed if I get this wrong. Would it not be pygmy elephant? I mean, they're fairly rare.
No, because everyone likes the elephants and I love an elephant, but you know me, I love primates and apes. So the monkey that you just criticized by saying it had a flabby nose was something that was very high up my list indeed. I'd often thought as a child, what if an animal was out there that looked a little bit like me, but up a tree?
Oh, fucking hell. Where'd you go from there? You don't look like one of those monkeys, Alan. My goodness. You look more like a macaque, or what's a really good-looking monkey? Is there one? What's a good-looking monkey?
Proboscis monkeys to me. I like them. I think it's nice.
It's a sign of intelligence. The ancient Greeks loved a big nose. Or was that the Romans?
Yeah, both, I think. Everyone loves them. We got on the river cruise, mate, and we're zipping down Kinabatangan River. And the first thing you see is a proboscis monkey because they're like ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, wow, proboscis monkey. I'm like putting my hand up at the front of the boat with my eye all bleeding out of its socket. And I go, excuse me, how many proboscis monkeys are in a troop? Excuse me, is the proboscis itself utilitarian or is it just a secondary sexual characteristic? Oh, excuse me, are they highly territorial monkeys? Oh, does the female of the species have a smaller proboscis or just you select the males based on the size of their appendage? And I just... learn a lot, mate. I learned a lot about proboscis monkeys.
You're the boffin at the back of the class. Everyone was like, fuck you, no, who's this kid?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Go on then, you're going to share some details then. What's going
on? Yeah, I can tell you there is a secondary sexual characteristic, the proboscis monkey. The larger the proboscis, the more attractive the monkey. And when the tour guide told me that, I've never felt so justified and seen in my whole life, because I've always been telling people that what's going on here is attractive.
Yeah. How bloody shallow all the different species are, right? That's amazing, mate. So a little boost of confidence, forget the old eye.
Yeah, a little boost of confidence. And I got to see the first of the Borneo Big Five and one of the ones I was most excited about seeing. And so that's a good way to start off the cruise, isn't it? Then you go back.
Yeah, wooing the female monkeys from afar. Yeah, love it.
I'll tell you what, the alpha males looked terrified when they saw me coming down on the boat. They thought, what the hell is that?
Dear, oh dear, quaking in their boots. That's amazing.
One of them, they're like hiding their proboscides in shame. Oh, God.
People at the front of the boat are looking at you going, blimey, we're much closer to that monkey than I thought we were going to be on this tour, just for $100.
I shouldn't have brought a wildlife lens. I needed like a macro diving lens. It's so close up.
I can't joke about it anymore, mate. I love your nose more than you probably do. You're a handsome devil, and we all think you are. But yeah, they're funny looking creatures. The old monkeys.
They are, yeah,
iconic, you might say.
And they made for an exhausting first cruise. So then you head back, you have dinner. You also go on a night cruise, but that's a little bit different because you can't see any big fauna there. So you're sort of looking at glowflies, and we saw, a few little budgerigars and parakeets and the remnants of what something might have been a crocodile, but didn't really see too much on the night cruise. So I went back to bed, basically, and then you start the whole damn thing again the next day. The middle of the 2 days is the most action-packed because you've got the back half of the first day and the very beginning of the third day, but it's the second day that's packed full of stuff.
Amazing. You didn't see a kingfisher? I remember seeing a kingfisher when I was in Kinabatangan. That was something that was, beautiful, beautiful bird.
Yeah, you can scarcely move for kingfishers out there, actually. You saw like maybe 5 or 6 different types of kingfisher.
It's one of the small 5.
Yeah. There's the big 5, there's the small 5. And all the small 5 are kingfishers.
So go on then, you got to tell us what happened the second day, because I'm looking forward to it. We're all thinking, me and all of the listeners are thinking, he hasn't mentioned an orangutan just yet.
Well, yeah, mate. And the theme continued because the second day, every time you go on a cruise on the second day, you're thinking this is going to be the one where you see the orangutan. And every time we did go on a cruise, we accrued more wonderful sights. We saw a crocodile. Tick it off, baby. We saw a rhinoceros hornbill. Oh, yeah. We saw everything, right? Apart from the pygmy elephant and the orangutan. At one point, it's time for a little jungle trek. So we park up the boat. We start plodding through the jungle, but we have to turn back because the guide sees on the floor the unmistakable print of the most pygmy of all elephants. You guessed it. It's the pygmy elephant. It had left a print so fresh that the guides were like, we simply can't progress. Because if a pygmy bull elephant sees you, it will ask questions later.
Oh, dear. Okay. So the tour just halted. And then you're all thinking, are you looking around? You're looking...
Get back on the boat.
Yeah. So safety amongst the crocs.
Yeah. Famously, they can't swim, the pygmy elephants.
So what's the cliffhanger? What's going on? What happens next?
Well, I was just pausing for a little while, So we get back on the boat. We go back to the thing. At this point, I don't want to go on and on and on and on about it, but my eye's getting so bad that I abandoned the salve and I luckily had some oral antibiotics in my bag.
Right.
And I was able to take them. They were left over from the time in the Philippines where I had a foot infection. So now I'm just like taking high strength amoxicillin and putting salve in my eye. And it's just a real mess up there. But thankfully, I know now that I'm not going to lose my vision because I've given myself the strongest thing.
Yes, you're absolutely riddled with antibiotics, covered from head to toe, outside, inside, emanating from every orifice, I'm sure.
So now we've got one more cruise left.
Okay. This isn't end of day 2. Is there one on day 3 or is it end of day 2?
This is end of day 2. Day 3, you've just got breakfast and you can pay for an additional cruise. It's an extra $10.
Oh, well, it seems like a good deal. It also seems like the kind of carrot, something else orange, they would dangle to try and get a little bit of money out of you because they know there's maybe...
Well, exactly.
What's a group of orangutans called? I did know that once. Do you know?
A brothel.
Yeah.
A Thunberg.
Yeah, don't chat GPT that. Let's just go with a brothel of orangutans. Amazing.
Yeah, so we went out on the very last cruise of the day.
Yeah.
And a new guy arrived at the hostel, a German guy. He was one, there's 2 types of Germans that I've noticed.
Yeah.
One of them is like, yeah, we've got to go here, and then we go on the cruise, and it's very good place to see the orangutan. And the other type of German is like, oh, I'm just interested in taking a few pictures. I'm interested in, I've been sort of seeing a few animals recently and I quite like the ginger monkey. He was the second type of German. And he arrived in the hostel. So now I had a friend. I said, listen, I've slept on all of these beds apart from that one. So you take the one I've not slept on.
Amazing.
And,
how kind of.
Yeah, he put his bags there. Now, he's on his first day. I'm on the last cruise of the second day.
Mm-hmm.
We head out together. We're on different boats.
Okay.
Once again, an hour down the river, we fail to see an orangutan.
It's not great. That $10 is looking ever so sweet.
Opportunity over. We meet for dinner. Me and this girl that I was talking to, she's sort of became my closest friend on the whole damn Kinabatangan River. We said, we can't believe it. We've not seen the orangutan. We see the German guy get off the boat and he goes, oh my God, it was so great to see the most ginger of all the apes. And we went, you didn't? He went, yeah, did you not?
Oh dear.
You saw an orangutan on your very first cruise? He said, yeah. I saw a whole family of orangutan, baby orangutan, adult orangutan of the both male and the female variety.
The pimp who was running the brothel.
We saw the whole family. So,
oh dear.
I mean, I was enraged.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult in those circumstances to just be completely happy for someone else. And seeing something that was so incredible because you had yet seen one. So I do feel that pain, even though, there'll be people listening to this and probably us listening back thinking, well, it's great for them that they saw one, but you kind of feel like they saw one at your expense.
I was happy for him, but I quickly went to the owners of the lodge and said, listen, you've got to get me on that. You got to get me on that trip tomorrow. And they said, it's perfect because the German boat saw orangutans. We know where their nest is.
Oh.
So we'll beeline for that nest at 5:00 tomorrow morning. And I said, book me in, baby. And they said, we've not got any spaces. And I said, find a couple of spaces then, because I'm really fucking skinny and my nose can just hang off the front of the boat. So I actually don't take off much room.
Did I mention I've got a travel podcast?
They said, all right, we'll find you a space. We'll get you on the boat. Just pay us some money. So I paid him some money, went to sleep, my eyes healing at a Wolverine-esque rate, fueled only by amoxicillin and willpower. I get on the boat in the morning, beeline down Kinabatangan River, head to the nest where the German saw the baby orangutan, and there in the tree, I see my very first wild, ginger as the day it was born, adolescent orangutan.
Oh my goodness. How wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, what were the emotions you were feeling in that moment? Because it sounds like quite a journey to get there.
Yeah.
Both emotionally and quite literally.
And medically.
Medically, yeah.
Dude, they are so cool. The arboreal ginger ape, the tree-dwelling creature that moves slowly from branch to branch so as to avoid detection by a potential predator, knowing that the adolescent was in fact joined by a mother and a father who were deeper in the forest, but it had come to the riverside, collecting like little bits of leaves off the tree. Such a fascinating, intelligent creature that have a sort of culture of their own. When an orangutan sees an orangutan, which it wants to say hello to, it will pick off food stuff and blow them, like not as an instinct, but as like a cultural practice. They're so intelligent and so refined, these apes. To see the majesty of this creature up in the tree, I was blown away by it. And I looked around the boat as if to say, God, what kind of an experience are we having? The girl that I was friends with went, I can't believe the other guy saw 3 orangutans.
Oh, you're joking. Oh, no. Oh dear.
She was emotional, actually.
Where was she from, just out of interest?
She's from the UK. She's from the UK.
Ah, fair. Was it not like a dry sense of humour, kind of comical timing?
It was, I think. She was actually quite tearful. She was so excited to see the orangutan. But as soon as she said it, I thought that was a great punchline. That
is amazing, mate. I was right there with you, and I'm sure we all were. But I remember when I was watching the orangutan, so close, so much closer than I expected. All those years ago, I remember thinking to myself, how on earth is that not a human in a suit? They are so human-like. You're breathtaking stuff.
Yeah.
If you've not seen one in the wild, it really is quite something. I don't know if you felt sort of was your stomach going, or was it like you were jumping for joy because you'd succeeded in your.
No, my eye felt quite sore, but I had no digestive symptoms.
You know what I mean, though. I mean, you'd all shared that sort of experience together. There's maybe a sense of community. There was a German actually on my trip who was maybe also the second type of German you mentioned, who took 220 photos in 45 minutes, if my memory serves me correctly. So I hope you got some bloody decent shots of this adolescent.
By way of the German, who was a photographer and a bloody nice chap and a really interesting guy who's developing a travel app, and he's like really, really
Oh my
cool.
God.
I like that German a lot. That's how I know I can sort of do an impression of someone if I like them.
Yeah.
And he went, "I'm so happy for you as you saw the ginger ape. I'll give you all of my pictures I have over," he took a lot of them and they were really, really beautiful. So we'll share some of those snapshots. Dude, really, really good and very different to the experience of Sepalog.
Sure.
It is a really different thing to see an orangutan in the wild. That's my first wild ape.
Oh.
I famously passed up on the opportunity to see gorillas in Uganda because I was so put off by the $600 minimum conservation fee. So my first wild ape, and by proxy, my best wild ape.
That's amazing, mate. I'm very, very happy for you. Hopefully it's inspired you to go and see more. I do share your sentiments when you are paying huge sums of money to go and see what is essentially sort of something in the wild can be difficult to navigate, especially if you're traveling on a budget. So glad that extra $10 got you the jackpot.
There was something nice about seeing it in the nick of time as well. I always think that seeing a wild animal, if it's hard to see it, it's somehow more rewarding in the sense that, like, I've tried to see wild tigers now on 4 separate occasions. I've dumped a lot of money into seeing wild tigers and never have. And I just know when I see a wild tiger for the first time, I'll be all the more excited as a result. So I'm so happy that I got to see an orangutan at the end there.
Yeah, much cheaper to go to a zoo and see all these things, of course.
Yeah, or indeed a brothel. So
that could stay in. That's lovely.
So I decided my eye was all healed.
Super. Fantastic.
I'd seen the ginger ape.
Yeah.
Sipadan, the diving spot, is closed for the month of November to repair the reef.
To repair the reef?
Just let it cure itself.
Oh, right.
And exactly at midnight on the 30th of November, it's done. It's healed. It's back to normal. No one ask any questions. Dive there again. Spend your money. So they're repairing Sipadan at the moment. So I can't go there. And I decide, look at that, just there. I don't count countries, mate. But there's one other country that resides here on the island of Borneo that I haven't been to. Do you know what it is?
I do. It also begins with a B. It's Brunei.
I thought, let me see what happens if I tiptoe over to Brunei by way of Labuan. I was going to do it by ferry because the bus trip is really long, just the same price, and you get 7 passports copped for it because you have to go from Sabah to Sarawak to Brunei, out of Brunei again, back into Sabah, then to Brunei. I didn't want to cop the passport stamps. I didn't want to cop the 7 hours. I thought I'd get a ferry, Labuan, Brunei. That's on the next episode. Now, though, we want to hear from a listener about their greatest travel story in an item that you like to call Tales of a Trip.
So I found myself in Vietnam. It was me and my friend. We were about 1.5 months into a 3-month trip around Asia. We'd done Thailand, Vietnam, and now we were going. The next country was going to be Bali, but we were in Vietnam. We're about halfway up, and we bought these motorbikes. We thought we were the dog's bollocks. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I can swear, but I'm sure you guys will edit this out. We thought we were the dog's bollocks. We sprayed them our own colours. We like graffitied all over them. They looked class. Mine was baby pink and I think light blue or something. It just looked awesome, and obviously it didn't look like a moped. They looked like motorbikes, even though they're only 50 cc. Is it 60 cc? I'm not really sure. But anyway, they were weak. They were the lowest cc you could get. Fast forward, we meet these 2 girls. They're both English girls. I was with my best friend, and we convinced these girls. We're like, guys, let's go on this trip north together. And in Vietnam, everyone goes north to south or south to north because it's a long, skinny country. And they were like, okay, sounds good. So let's do this trip together. So we had these 2 smoking hot babes They were on their mopeds, and me and my friend were on our motorbikes. And their plan was to go up and go through all the way up through Vietnam and stop along the way, and it was going to be this beautiful adventure. Anyway, let's say like day 2, day 3, something like that. I'm going down the road and I'm following my best friend, and I get a puncture in my tire, and I realise that the tire needs replacing. So luckily, someone just in the area was literally right there. They come out, they give me a new tire. I pay the money, blah blah blah. Everything's fine. What they didn't tell me, because obviously there's a language barrier, is that when you replace a tire, you should drive it. You shouldn't go straight onto the motorway because it's oily. You should drive it around like local streets and that sort of stuff first. Me not knowing this, I go straight back onto the motorway. And as I'm trying to catch up with my friend, I'm going a little bit faster. I think I see somewhere that he's pulled into, so I put on the brakes. The whole bike comes to a screeching halt. The back wheel flies out. I fly off and tumble. The bike's tumbling. Somehow, from some freak of nature, I end up standing up, and I'm standing up, and I look over, and the bike is still. The bike is still like tumbling, so the bike's still got momentum. I look down at my leg. It's absolutely pissing blood. It's crazy. Loads of locals come out to me. They throw water all over me. Anyway, I've only got 30 seconds. So what do I have to do? I have to wait there for my friend to come back. I had no phone signal at all. This is before the times of, I guess, like phone service over there if you're a tourist. I had to wait for my friend to come back. I was smoking cigarettes to come back. My time's running out. And I had to wait on the side of the road and hitchhike back with this broken bike until someone came and let me put the bike on the back of their van to drive back to the nearest city. It was traumatic. I had to go to the hospital. Cheers, guys.
Well done, Tom, there. Clocking in, of course, when you submit a Tales of a Trip, you've got just 3 minutes. So well done on sticking to the schedule. A wonderful story, of course, falling victim to that which claims many travellers. It's a motorbike moped experience crash in Vietnam.
Yeah, I imagine there are thousands of people listening to this who will be able to relate to that story. Tomo, thanks ever so much for sending in a story. Amazing, very well told. It's just one of those, isn't it, mate, where you never think it's going to be you.
Well, especially when you're neglected to be told about an oily tyre. I'd be very upset. I would be like Tom, I would rip back onto the motorway with that greasy wheel and not expect anything to happen. But I do empathize with that experience. I've told before the story on the pod when I came off my bike and, similar to Tom, had no cell phone reception. And there's a unique feeling of just having to wait, injured at the side of the road, thinking at some point my friends will realize that I'm not behind them. I don't know when that will be, but at that point they will backtrack, expecting to find a bleeding version of me. So you've just got to wait, haven't you, really?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with these incidents, and even though this seems like it wasn't Tomo's fault, I mean, it was just due to information he didn't have available to him, and it was just one of those things. It was a shame. It sounds like I don't know whether he's told the story in detail to kind of save the listeners, but I bet it was pretty gruesome. If the villagers were coming out and dousing him with water to try and wash off the blood and that sort of stuff, I bet the cut or wound or whatever he had as a result of the crash was pretty rank.
I think if we'd given him 4 minutes, we'd have got an extra minute of like blood and gore. Oh, there were veins hanging out of my calf.
Yeah, incredibly descriptive and graphic. But I think what people should take away from Tom's story, or kind of extrapolate from it, I guess, is that usually, not in Tom's case, but usually when backpackers are racing around, let's say Southeast Asia or South America, wherever, on mopeds or motorbikes, and they do have accidents, it's usually because they've been driving like dickheads.
Yeah, or they've just not wiped down the wheel with a kitchen towel or something similar before getting on the motorbike. But definitely, like when I crashed in Vietnam, it was because I categorically didn't know how to ride a moped or a motorbike.
It's a big mistake.
As a 21-year-old, thought I probably can though.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. It is within your capabilities, but maybe sort of a week's training in, say, Hanoi, where I learned to ride my motorbike. It's not to say...
Or even an hour would have benefited me.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of the sort of shit that we got up to on my motorbike, because I did almost exactly the same. I imagine it was very similar to the trip that Tom did up and down Vietnam. I spent 2 months on a motorbike, and I mean, I haven't told my mum this, but I nearly lost my life. So they are incredibly dangerous, but they are an immense amount of fun. And I struggle to think of a better way to experience a country, especially one like Vietnam, than by motorbike. So yeah, take care, but my God, are they fun.
I agree with you, Adam, and thank you, Tom, very much for sending that story in. If you have a story, a travel story, perhaps you want to talk about the time you came face to face with a gorilla or the time you whitewater rafted on the River Nile, send it in. It's Tales of a Trip on Tripology Podcast. There is a link in description. 3 minutes, your greatest travel story, just like Tomo did. Now, though, we're going to go to the Lost and Found section, the section in Patreon. There's also a link in the description if you want to hear that. It goes on after the theme music. We're going to head there right now.
Thanks ever so much. We'll see you there, guys. Bye-bye.